Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and we are going to be completing Chapter 6, Bridge 4, during this video. Last time we left Kaladin, they'd finally made it to the last chasm to face the Parshendi. They've been struggling and agonizing to get these 20 bridges across these chasms. The army of the high princes have been marching across, riding across. They get across, they drag it across, pick it up on the strength of their backs, and they've been marching for hours. They finally get to the last chasm, and this time they're not just marching towards a chasm, they are sprinting as fast as they can as the Parshendi are firing unrelenting waves of arrows at the bridges. Kaladin's bridge is growing heavier and heavier with each death that is being suffered on his bridge, and actually entire bridges have collapsed onto the ground because too many men have died. Well, Kaladin gets the bridge there with his crew, and as the last thing he hears in consciousness and sees through fading eyes is the cavalry and soldiers riding across and able to get to the Parshendi to try to break the line. Well, all we come to, the next part after the chapter break, is actually someone speaking, and we read, "Kaladin!" Well, Kaladin didn't want to open his eyes, because to open your eyes would be to return to the anguish and the gruesomeness that he's been experiencing. However, we read, "Kaladin!" It was a feminine voice. "They're going to leave you. Get up. You'll die." And Kaladin, as he is groaning in anguish, he feels a painful, almost not even realistic slap across his face. His eyes crack open and he sits up, realizing that that little windspren who's been following him around slapped him in the face. He, in the back of his mind, understands that some of the larger spren, not those small anticipation spren, but some of the larger ones, can actually somewhat affect the material world. And sure enough, this windspren slapped him in the face to get him to come back to consciousness. Well, as his eyes begin to clear, he sees soldiers are walking around to the different bodies, checking them for anything that would be valuable. These are obviously dead bodies. And the battle is over. Whatever has happened, and they're collecting any type of material good to bring back with them. Well, Kaladin drags himself up to a nearby body as well. You'll remember as they were marching over, one of the things that Kaladin did not have were sandals or shoes or any type of protection for his shoulders. Well, he sees a nearby dead body, and he sees that they have shoes and a padded vest. Drags himself over to it, realizes it's the old man that had been running beside him. Well, in disgust with himself, with the whole situation, he takes the shoes off of the man, puts them on his own feet, takes the vest off of him, puts it around his shoulders, and he begins to meander back to the remaining members of the bridge crews. He does ask the spren that slapped him to wake him up if she has a name. Well, interestingly enough, she stands there, floats there for a moment, and considers that she does have a name, but doesn't really understand why she has a name. Kaladin continues to march back, and she gets back to him and says, "Yes, I do have a name. My name is Silfrena. Silfrena." But then she continues on and chuckles and says, "Sil, that's amusing. It appears I have a nickname." So we now get a name for this windspren that's been following him around. Silfrena, or Sil, is her name. Kaladin gets back to where the bridge crews are amassing, whoever's left, and he hears a shout behind him, "You!" Turns around, and Sergeant Gaz is standing there, certainly shocked that Kaladin survived the run, because Kaladin is the only one from the front row of that bridge, of Bridge 4, who survived. Well, Kaladin, not just is he realizing what has happened, he's putting together the not just cruelness, the cruelty, but the utter disgust that Gaz showed him, because he didn't bother to tell him what was happening. He didn't bother to prepare him. Kaladin figures out after what he's just gone through. It's because Gaz never expected him to make it through. Why did he have to worry about him? He's not going to survive anyway. Kaladin grows angry, realizing that he was just thrown in here as nothing more than a warm body to get the bridge there and then to die. Well, one of the surviving men lets him know, because again, he's still the rookie, that the trip back is not as bad. You have to have at least 25 people, they say, in order to pick up the bridges. So they go slower, they take more breaks, and actually even some soldiers help bring these bridges back, because these bridges are very important for the strategy of the battle, right? They have to get across these chasms somehow. Well, they pick up the bridge, begin the march back. And I just wanted to read for us the sort of last couple sentences, because it's so impactful of where Kaladin is at in his journey, right? Whatever happened back in Amaram's army, it's brought him pretty low. He's been a slave. He's tried to escape. He's been recaptured. He's been branded as dangerous. And it's as if things couldn't ever get worse. However, he finds himself here, right? And let me finish with just reading this. Kaladin walked feeling numb. He thought that there was nothing more life could do to him, nothing worse than the slave's brand with a sash, nothing worse than losing all he had to the war, nothing more terrible than failing those he'd sworn to protect. It appeared that he'd been wrong. There had been something more they could do to him. One final torment the world had reserved just for Kaladin, and it was called Bridge 4. So we don't know where Kaladin's going to go from here. We know that this apparently is going to be his new reality. And he certainly is feeling hopeless. He's feeling like, what is even the meaning of life if this is what I'm used for, as nothing more than a human shield for these bridges, right? And so we'll have to get back to him. We'll have to see where he's going to go from here. While at the same time, we appreciate as well that we still have Shallan trying to get her wardship from Yasna. And we get a little bit of her plan. We've talked about in the last couple chapters. She wants to steal this Fabrial, this soulcaster. But Kaladin here, his only goal is get back to camp, right? Nothing beyond that at this point. So that's where we'll end Chapter 6, Bridge 4. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. How do you think Kaladin's response is in accordance to reality? How would you react in that situation? And I'll look forward to hearing some of the comments and discussion that we get into. So thanks so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe for more. It'd be such a help. Appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting the channel. We'll catch you on the next video.